so that the past will not repeat itself. That is why the country is having little stake in this. What happened in the past, Nigeria Airways was solely owned by government. And you just found people writing notes and say, give first class ticket, give business class ticket. And at the end of the day, the airline was run down. When this proposal came, right from the beginning, it was stated that the government was not going to have major equity in it. It was going to be private sector driven. And the matter was discussed at the Federal Executive Council. The proposed name, the funding formula, the logo, everything came through the Federal Executive Council meeting. And it culminated in what we saw at the Farnborough Fair yesterday. So it's something that has been discussed. And the funding formula also was discussed.
Well, one of the questions that will come up, we know that when President Buhari went to visit U.S. President Donald Trump, there were some negotiations with Boeing over the supply of planes potentially for the national carrier. But if that is to go on, Nigerians may ask, what is the stake then? If it's only 5% stake, of what real benefit is this to the country if the stake is so small?
I think the benefits are really huge. They're huge. If you travel widely, and I believe you do, you see what Ethiopia Airlines has done with aviation. Each time you pass through Addis and you see even Dreamliners. The last time I passed through Addis, there were 5 Dreamliners on the tarmac. I don't know how many were in the air in different parts of the world. How would you feel as a Nigerian that your country could not muster anything near that? I think Nigeria has a lot to gain by having a national carrier.
Let me ask you this question about, well, it's bordering again on security. You came under fire recently for comments you made on people giving up their ancestral lands. You talked about, you know, whether or not it would be better. I mean, wouldn't it be better if they gave up their land, at least to secure their lives, that lives or sentiments become worthless, land become worthless when people... Do you think you are misquoted or you were misunderstood? Or is that what you really meant? Did you really mean that people will have to give up their ancestral land to be able to solve this crisis?
What I said was slanted to fulfill the intention of hateful people, malicious people, people with bile. And when I saw them wailing and saying all sorts of rubbish, I just kept quiet. I didn't say a word because I knew what I said. What I said in that interview, every word of it, I stand by. Every word. Not the slanted one that they began to wail about. They
no, but you know, Mr. Adesina.
Wait, you asked me a question.
I did. Please, by all means.
Let me end. Now, what was the question? What has government done to end farmers' herdsmen clashes? I dwelt on the security actions, and then I also talked about the National Economic Council that said establish ranches in 5 states. And then the next question came, what about those who say they don't have land? And I said, if they say they don't have land, there's no problem. It's a coalition of the willing. It's anybody that is willing to give land. And I mentioned Kogi State, which offered 15,000 hectares of land for ranches. After that offer, the carnage that was unleashed on Kogi was so horrendous. And I said, this thing goes beyond offering land or no offering land. Kogi offered land and they unleashed killings on that state immediately the following week. Now, the next question was, how about people who have ancestral attachment, emotional attachments to their ancestral land? I said, if you have land that you can offer. Remember I said earlier that it was not by force. Anybody that had land, please give for peace sake. I said, if you have land that you can offer it for peace sake. What's the essence of saying you have ancestral attachment to land and then you get killed at the end of the day? I said, for peace sake, if you have land that you can give so that we can solve this problem. We just came from Netherlands. Most likely Netherlands has more cattle than Nigeria. All the cattle Nigeria has is 9.5 million. Netherlands lives on a Greek. You don't hear of clashes and all
I
that
don't want to
because they
ask
have
you-
learned, Marque, let me finish, because they have learned to also put their animals in ranches. So everything I said in that interview, I stand by. But those who slanted it and began to make mischief with it is because they are evil-minded, they are hateful, they are malicious, and I leave them to it.
You know, some people will say that this matter is actually quite deep.
Very deep.
Because,
Very deep.
you know, ancestral land, first and foremost, you know, people have attachments to
Yes,
them
fine.
naturally.
Naturally.